GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered. And that's MVS and Justin Watson with some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues. If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow, comma, semicolon, period, next sentence, to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that
yes? Let's go! So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
and Jay
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? Oh, let's get it. GMGP, it is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray and Jay in the morning. Have your cup of coffee, all that good stuff. Let's have some damn fun today. What's popping with you, Gump? Happy hump day. What's popping with you, Gump? 7285. Doing all the dope prop betting over here with DD Fantasy Football. What's up, Garrison? What's happening with you, Phillip? Tyler Trout. Swag Hack in the building. What's up, Swag Hack? What's going down with you, baby? I saw Hunter Joe Green, Addison, Lawrence, Jimbo. Let's go. GMGP, ALRA, did you send the mats out? Trying to flex. Hey, Jimbo, got you right here, baby. No label, but you're boxed up. Label's coming, baby. I got you, Jimbo. And the hats and the swag, yes, you see it. DD Fantasy Football, JRich, I like this black hat, man. This is the one. I'm liking the black hat. Feels good, looks good. Happy to have Alex in the building. Ned, Chris, Rob, Patrick, Dominic, Damon, Colin. We got the crew in the building, and we got a lot to talk about. But JRich, for those who did not see it, we have been talking about the addition of the Dynasty Theory crew over here at Destination Devy at DD. You see it on the screen in the back. Dynasty's hottest offseason risers. Make sure you check them out on the channel right now. They dropped their first episode on the channel last night. Dan, Mitch, and John Bauer, man, these young men are sharp. They know their stuff. They know fantasy. They're going to do a start-sit show on the channel every single Sunday. So make sure you're tapped in. Give them some love. Show them some love. This is fresh, new fantasy football content on the channel. Shout out to damn Dynasty Theory, man. They are incredible. JRich, how you doing this morning, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, it was great to have them have their debut on the channel. They did a phenomenal job. Of course, we always expect that from the Dynasty Theory crew, but great to see them under the DD Fantasy Football umbrella. But Ray, there is a lot to talk about in the NFL. It is finally week one. We're here. We kick off with the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow. We have the Eagles in Sao Paulo with the Packers on Friday, and there is still some interesting nuggets coming out about that. But Ray, where do you want to start? A lot of people shouting out Dynasty Theory. They did do a great job, and happy they're on the channel.
They did a really good job, man. And I don't just say that shit to say it and move on. They did a really good job. And I think the good thing about bringing other fantasy minds, other opinions underneath the network, underneath the umbrella, is you do get a different viewpoint than the way that Scott Connor talks about it, than the way that you and I discuss these players. You get other ideas, other opinions. You see Dynasty Daddy in the chat, everything that Jeremy is doing with Dynasty Daddy. We're actually meeting today, Jay, to figure out what new stuff we want to add for fantasy football enthusiasts here in 2024. But yeah, man, make sure you tap into everything that they're doing. Shout out to the wife, man. I got to give my wife a shout out every time. She is the biggest critic of this show, JRich. I'll tell you, no matter what type of criticism we have for ourselves, my wife is going to keep it a buck and let us know what shit works and what don't. So shout out to baby mama right there. But Jay, you did say we've got a lot to talk about, and we did not mention this at all, not even one time on Monday. And I felt kind of bad when we got off the show because I'm normally pretty good with this, but we were excited to have Scott on, talk college football. We didn't talk about Ricky Pearsall and the injury that he sustained, the shooting, the attempted murder, robbery of him by a teen in San Francisco. Is really scary because the area of town that he was in, Jay, you know, my wife and I were just around that spot a few months ago.
Yeah.
We took a vacation to San Francisco. We went out there to do some sightseeing, but shot through the chest. Very lucky to not be hurt. His mom actually put some information out just talking about his status and his update. He's on the non-football injury list. just a scary situation for Pearsall. And luckily, he is going to be okay. He's going to recover. No nothing life threatening. But from a fantasy perspective, what is this? He was a first round pick, San Francisco 49ers. We know Kyle Shanahan and everything that he brings to an offense, Jay. Whatever expectations you have for Pearsall, is this one of those things once he's back on the field, no worries, or what do you do with him in fantasy? And I know it's difficult to talk about when you're going through and talking about these things, but he is okay. Yeah, all things considered, he's going to be fine. But what do you do with him from a fantasy perspective, Jay?
I don't think it changes a lot for fantasy, honestly. You know, Ricky Pearsall was a player that we had pegged for a bit of a redshirt year, right? We know that Ayuk is back, and it was really just, do they get rid of Debo? Is Ayuk gone? Kind of opening up that spot for Pearsall. We don't ever like to see these things happen, but in terms of fantasy value, the role and when he was going to play in the offense was going to be minimal. It was really going to be in case of injury. I think it just allows him a little bit more time to learn the offense, maybe from the sidelines. When you're trying to work in and play that role every week, it can be a little bit more difficult. So it'll be good for him potentially to work on the mental side, see things, work with the coaches a little bit more, and all that kind of stuff. So I am intrigued with Pearsall, and I think it is good for the development. You know, when you're not being forced onto the field and you do have that time to kind of slowly work into the season, it may be good for a player like Pearsall that is going to need to learn a very complicated system and probably needs to learn multiple roles in this offense. So for fantasy purposes, it actually could work out pretty good for us. Just if you were banking on him for early production, one, you probably shouldn't have been, but two, it's obviously not going to happen that first 4 weeks, but maybe we do see him on the field in week 5. We don't know. We can't project right now, but if he's healthy and good, maybe he will be. I think you're on mute still.
Garrison said that he's working out already. Listen, I haven't heard anything about that. If he is, fantastic. And I agree with you. I guess the bigger question is, Jay, if he were available in your league, would you trade for him or are you good on him? Like that's the real question. Is he somebody you would want to first round pick, talented receiver, Kyle Shanahan, awesome offense? If somebody were like, I just kind of don't want him, whatever, would you offer up a 25-second for him?
Probably not a 25-second, but I'd be intrigued. I'd be intrigued a little bit just because of the offense. And then I still think, we can get into Trent Williams and how he re-signed, but it's like, it seems like some implosion of this team is going to happen at some point. They can't afford to pay all these guys. And Pearsall being a first-round pick, drafted as highly as he was, he's going to get an opportunity on this team at some point. The question is kind of what makes that happen? Who are the guys that have to leave? Because I forget what the exact number was, but there was like 13 guys on this roster being paid $15+ million a year. I forget what the actual figure was, but with Trent Williams and then signing Ayuk as well, the number is astronomically high compared to other teams. So something's going to have to happen with this roster heading into next season with Brock Purdy and his extension. We just don't know which dominoes are ultimately going to fall.
Well, let's talk about it. That was a great segue into one of his teammates, Trent Williams, who signed a 3-year, damn near $83 million deal. Count that money, Trent Williams. Look at him, smiling, happy. Big Trent was speaking at the press conference, talked about, the shooting, the attempted murder. Call it what it is, attempted murder of Ricky Pearsall to motivate him to get on the field, to play for his brothers, to play for his teammates. And it seems like all this drama that was surrounding the San Francisco 49ers all offseason is quickly dissipating. And having him back, I was on Bleacher Report on Monday, Jay, and in the power rankings, I had the 49ers third in my power rankings. And a big reason why was because Trent Williams was unsigned. Trent Williams, and I got this information from the 33rd team, so shout out to them. Here goes Brock Purdy splits with and without Trent Williams on the field. With Trent Williams, 582 dropbacks, 41 touchdowns, 11 picks, pressure rate 36%, 0.24 EPA per dropback, and a 111.4 QB rating. Without Trent Williams on the field, 91 dropbacks, so a much smaller sample size, but 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Pressure rate jumped up to 45%. The EPA dropped down to 0.18 EPA per dropback, and the QB rating of 94. So safe to say, with Trent Williams on the field, this offense is significantly better than with him off the field. And those numbers, they also hold true for Christian McCaffrey, whom, now that Trent Williams is healthy, Jay, CMC, back at practice, just fine. No worries. The calf is good to go. Those 12th round Jordan Masons ain't looking too good. So Trent Williams is back. CMC is back. Ayuk has openly admitted he's made things difficult for the 49ers. He's back. They got Debo. Kyle Shanahan is there.
Yeah, Daboll restructured too.
Jay, it seems like it's wheels up again for the 49ers in the NFC.
It seems like it, but, you talk about how everything's good. Everything's all good. Trent is back, and Ayuk is back, and the band is back together. But there definitely seems like there's a lot of pressure on this team this year. And every year there's always going to be pressure on this team because of how they're constructed, how much they're spending. But the way they had to go about it this year is definitely concerning, Ray. But I think we can transition to another player who is still waiting for a contract, the last man. And no, we're not talking about Hassan Reddick. He's going to have to keep waiting. We're talking about Ja'Marr Chase, who is still waiting on that deal. Ray, first of all, do you believe the report that he wants to be paid 1 cent more than Justin Jefferson? Because I think it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but maybe it is ultimately true.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe Ja'Marr Chase wants to be the highest paid wide receiver, period. I do believe that. And he and CeeDee Lamb, I've said this the entire time. I don't know these folks, never met them. They just strike me as two that will sit out. The vibe is, pay me what I want.
Yeah,
I'm Ja'Marr Chase. If not, good luck doing it without me. Good luck with Burton and Yoshi Voss and all those other players without me. And we're here. Jay, the season starts tomorrow. And as good as Chase is, he probably could show up on Sunday and still go drop 8 for 80 and a touchdown. He probably could. But that's probably not in the best interest of the player's health, his safety, getting him acclimated. You don't want to just throw your Ferrari out there cold, right? You don't want to do that. So how does it play out?
Graphic 13 put in the chat. The line dropped. It was the biggest spread of the week. Cincy at home against New England. I think they're at home if I'm reading the lines correctly. 7.5-point favorites, down from 9.5. What does that say? That says they don't think Ja'Marr Chase is going to play as it stands right now.
Well, I wish we had a poll in here. I wish I could set a poll. I think I can do it on YouTube, but I can't do it from Ecamm, what we use. Is Chase, does he deserve to be paid more than Justin Jefferson? Like, does Ja'Marr Chase deserve to be the highest paid receiver in NFL history, one of the highest paid players in the NFL? Is he worth more valuable, deserves more, however you want to frame it, Jay? I'm asking you, is he worth more than Justin Jefferson today?
I would say so, yeah. I would say with inflation and being a year behind, but behind him, all that stuff, like, people got to remember that just because he signs the deal today doesn't mean that he gets paid today, more likely than not. He's still going to have to do the contract this year, and then next year will be locked in as well with the salaries going to be owed, and then the extension finally kicks in. So there is some time. I like Jefferson a lot, but if you're just telling me about the way the NFL works and how contracts are structured, he deserves to be paid more than Justin Jefferson. He does.
Let me listen, man. I don't agree with that. I do not think he deserves to be paid more than Justin Jefferson, but the chat quickly said no to that, but let me reframe it and ask it a different way. Because the market is the market, right? When I was hired at my job, Jay, the people who are hired now, same role, same position, less experience, they're paid more than what I was paid when I was hired, right? Because the market is different. Has the market adjusted quick enough to warrant, even if Chase isn't deserved to be paid more, has the market adjusted quick enough in a matter of weeks to where he should be valued equitably higher than Justin Jefferson? You get what I'm saying? Like, if this were a year from now, I don't think people would have a big argument against it. But Jets just got paid. So has there been enough time in the market for that valuation of Ja'Marr Chase to change? Let me try to frame it that way.
I think that no, there hasn't been, but I think the missing point of all of this.
Still no. Mark gets what I'm saying. He said still no. He says still no.
I think that point is fair, but what is kind of dismissed in all of this is his value to the team. Is he as valuable to the Bengals as Justin Jefferson is to the Vikings? And the answer is unequivocally yes.
I agree with
unequivocally yes. And you can say what you want about the talent of the players. You can say Jefferson's better. I personally believe Jefferson is better as well. But if there was a player I'd say that is just as good with a exactly similar ceiling, CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase. Easily. Those two guys are right there. A.J. Brown probably just behind them, but those are the big three in the NFL.
I agree.
All deserve to be paid the exact same, in my opinion. If Chase wants to be paid a little bit more than Jefferson, I'm all for it because the value to the franchise is absolutely identical. And that's really what matters in the NFL.
And Chris said, bingo. It's what he's worth to the Bengals, not in a vacuum, not versus Jefferson's talent, not versus CeeDee Lamb's talent. What is he
and the value
worth
to Burrow
that
as
to
well.
the Bengals? I think that's a great way to frame it. It's an interesting conversation. The chat is kind of back and forth. It's interesting. Graphic 13 said Adam Schefter brought up a good point. Burrow's contract was finalized day before the season started. So there's still
time.
time.
I think the problem too, Ray, is that this not only would be a problem for the Bengals, but it's a problem of precedent, right? The precedent for quarterbacks is after year 3, but the precedent for wide receivers has been after year 4. Before the fifth-year option. So that's where this is another issue with the NFL and ownership and GMs across the league.
Do you think they don't? Is that what it is? Man,
I think it's it. They don't want that precedent set that elite receivers get paid after 3 years. CD had to wait. Jefferson had to wait. Amon-Ra, I believe, as well, had to wait.
Well, Amon-Ra wasn't a first-round pick, so he had. But
he had to wait into his final year, right? Like he had to wait his 3 years to get paid because he was going into his fourth season. Because he wouldn't have the fifth-year option.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. So you got to wait, right?
You make some good points. You make some very good points. I think the overall takeaway is if you've drafted him for redraft, you're a little nervous. There's no doubt about it. You're a little nervous right now. If this presents a window to buy him in Dynasty for whatever reason, you go do that. And you just pray. You hope he's on the field because he is good enough to show up last minute and go out there and beat Jamar Chase. I don't think that would be optimal. But if he gets something done, he'll be on the field Sunday. So something to monitor for sure. JRich, one of your favorite players in the NFL. There was some depth chart rumblings yesterday, and apparently New Orleans Saints Swiss Army knife, quarterback, running back, tight end, and general manager Taysom Hill officially listed, or I don't even know if it's official, but there are reports that a depth chart came out, and he's listed as a tight end. He's listed as a QB/tight end, and depending on the fantasy service that you use, talk about why Taysom Hill is such a good pick this year in fantasy, especially if he lands this tight end designation across platforms. Jay, is he just cheat code once again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Taysom Hill, when he's active, is a top 10 tight end in the NFL, period. And I think the thing that people forget about fantasy football is that the most important part of fantasy is truly the rushing floor, whether it's quarterbacks, running backs, even if receivers provide a rushing floor, it's very helpful to score fantasy points weekly. And that's one of the things that people forget is Taysom Hill's ability on the goal line and in the red zone and to have a rushing floor along with the receiving floor. And heaven forbid, Ray, he throws a touchdown pass. We're laughing. And then the last thing that you forgot to mention, Taysom Hill also named team captain, voted on by the players. So not only is he dominant in the red zone, not only is he a top 10 tight end, period, he is also a team captain for the Saints. I think it's going to be heavily involved. There's a lot of reports that this offense is much different, much improved, and they have been more than willing to integrate Taysom Hill even further into the offense. Dennis Allen has been very critical of a lot of players this offseason. Taysom Hill is not one of them. He loves Taysom Hill. Every coach he's ever had loves him. He's in the building. First one in, last one out. He grinds like nobody else. Taysom Hill is honestly a really cool story of a player that shouldn't have been anything in the NFL and has really carved out a role in a team and doing very, very good, not just in the NFL, but also for fantasy football.
Hold on, Jay. We got some breaking news on the show.
Oh, did we?
Got some breaking news on the show. I'm going to post it right now. Got some breaking news. Patrick Surtain.
Ooh.
Jay, you see this? Patrick Surtain, the Denver Broncos and two-time Pro Bowl cornerback Patrick Surtain II reached an agreement today on a 4-year, $96 million extension that includes $77.5 million guaranteed, making him the highest-paid defensive back in NFL history. JRich, PS2, Patrick Surtain II. Man, watching For those of you who watched the Dolphins back in the day, when Pat Surtain and Madison, they had another cornerback on the other side. I believe it was Sam Madison. Just two awesome cornerbacks for the Dolphins. His son, PS2, played at Alabama, one of the best players in the NFL. Just a technician. Talk about prototypical size. I mean, he's everything that you want out of a cornerback. Like, this is, if you were building one in the lab, it would look like PS2. Congrats to him and the Denver Broncos, man, for keeping him in place. Remember, there was a lot of rumblings that he was on the trade block and all this other shit. Patrick Surtain II, read up, highest paid defensive back in NFL history. There we go. Count that money, Patrick. Count that damn money. Generational wealth right there. Big deal for the Denver Broncos, Jay.
Yeah, the Denver Broncos, a team that can't get much right these days, but it seems like they got this right. They got the Bo Nix pick, looking good so far, and re-signing Pat Surtain was someone on their list. It seemed like they've been shedding players left and right for the past 3 seasons. Couldn't keep Bradley Chubb, got rid of Jared Jeudy, and players kind of continuing to see them leaving Denver. It was good they had to get this guy signed. He is easily probably their most important defensive player. We talked about Justin Simmons also walking from Denver this past offseason as well. So good for PS2. He's easily one of the best cornerbacks in the league. And if you look at the way where he plays, Ray, I saw this. I forget where it was. I think it was Scott Barrett who posted it from Fantasy Points. He plays the left side and the right side. He travels both sides a lot. So when you have a cornerback who's that versatile, definitely a guy you need to re-sign. Great for him. But where do you want to head to next? Because there is some news out of New York that was very interesting, Ray, and I need to get your take on it because you are the biggest Danny Dimes fan in the NFL. I'm not talking about Kay Adams. I'm not talking about Kay Adams. Don't worry, Ray. We're not going to get there. We're not going to get there.
What news are you? I don't know if that was true or not. That ain't my business who Kay Adams is dating. What Daniel Jones news is there? I literally have no clue what you're talking about.
Well, Ray, one thing that we always talk about in New York is the fact that Brian Daboll has done a tremendous job developing young Josh Allen. Yeah. And we thought there was a chance he could do the same thing with Daniel Jones. We sort of saw it in year 1. Year 2 was a mitigated disaster. But this year, Ray, Brian Daboll has confirmed he will take over play calling duties for the New York Giants, which, in my opinion, is a best case scenario for the Giants. But what does it mean, and does it change anything for you for fantasy football?
Who the hell was calling the plays in the first place?
Mike Kafka was calling plays before.
Who?
Yeah, Mike Kafka was calling plays before.
What? I mean, yeah, sure. It changes a little bit. It's Daboll now. It's his ass on the line.
Yeah, he's in control of his destiny now, right? He's calling the plays.
I'll just tell you, man. I don't know what to think about the Giants because part of the world in which we operate and we live in, everybody is saying, "Oh, they'll just get a new quarterback next year." Yet I'm looking at every early 2025 mock, and they don't have the Giants taking a quarterback. And I don't know if this is because of the contract that Daniel Jones has. I don't know what it is, Jay, but they've got the Giants picking number 1, legit, number 1, number 2, right up there with Carolina. And in no mock am I seeing them taking a quarterback. I see them taking Will Campbell. They're taking an edge rusher. I don't know what this means. I think we continue to talk about the fact that once Malik Neighbors gets a new quarterback, wheels up.
Then, yeah.
But I'm just like, what if they don't take one? What if they're not in a position to do that again and you're stuck with Daniel Jones? I don't know. Is it good for him? Sure. There's no option behind him. So spare me the Drew Lock.
No Drew Lock?
No. Stop. Absolutely not. There's nothing else. I don't know what to think. Good, but is Brian Daboll going to help protect? Is he going to help block? Is he going to help develop Evan Neal? Is he going to help develop that offensive line? Do they have a tight end to throw the ball to? Is there another wide receiver that's taller than 5'8" that matters? Like, those things matter a little more, in my opinion, than Brian Daboll calling the play for Daniel Jones. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want a lot of Giants. This is a situation that I just don't want to touch a lot of Giants, man. I don't have a lot of confidence. But I guess Brian Daboll calling plays is much better than Mike Kafka.
Yeah, it's the best case scenario, even if the scenario really doesn't look so good, right? It's the most we could hope for from the Giants this season. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I thought it was kind of funny. And I do think it is somewhat relevant. Will it end up mattering in the end? I don't know. But it's interesting to see Daboll taking the reins because I do believe he's a very good offensive mind and play caller. And you say, can he develop his players? Can he make the offensive line better? No, but maybe he can put them in slightly better situations to succeed on game days, right? With the plays that he's calling. We kind of saw that with Brock Purdy when Kyle Shanahan wasn't calling plays in the preseason. He didn't look so good, right? So you bring in Shanahan back, maybe they'll call some better plays that work better for the offense.
Yeah, listen, I think we're at that point now where we're so close to football being there, yet so far away from Sunday. It is just throw spaghetti at the refrigerator, at the wall. Let's see what sticks. But there's a lot of conversation, Jay, right now around these depth charts. Depth chart game right now.
Oh, yeah.
What's it look like on the depth chart? But we'll talk about that in a second because Garrison hit the nail on the head. We're halfway through the show. He said it. 240 on here in YouTube and only 42 likes. Y'all know what we got to do. Run it up. Run it up, and we'll be back after this. Let's go.
Just out.
Let's get it. I'm over here. I'm struggling, Jay. Those birthday shenanigans got that voice a little raspy today. A little raspy.
Let's go.
Appreciate everybody being here. Hit the thumbs up button. Like the content. Subscribe to I noticed this. Y'all got to subscribe. People are watching. Subscribe to the goddamn channel. Help us grow and show out and ball out and continue to dope things. Thank you for that. But Jay, depth chart gate. Let's talk about it. Who are some of the bigger or more talked about depth chart releasing of positional battles that we saw yesterday? I know Cincinnati, the chat's already talking about the Rams, the Commanders. Yeah. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go, Jay? This is hilarious.
This just makes me laugh, right? Because it always brings me back to Justin Jefferson not playing the first 2 weeks of the season and then still having 1,400 yards in his rookie year. So I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it might matter like a small, tiny bit. You want to see your guys on the field, and that's about it. It's not going to matter for the long term, and it shouldn't matter for your prop bets or for your fantasy teams. But, Ray, out of Buffalo, Mac Hollins was listed as the starting wide receiver ahead of Keon Coleman. Everyone said Keon Coleman's going to be the guy. He's looking great. He's running with Josh Allen in preseason. But as it looks and as it stands currently, Mac Hollins ahead of Keon Coleman on the depth chart. What do you have to say about that?
I'm not.
You're fading it. You don't believe it.
I'm not buying it, Jay. I'm not buying it.
All right. Okay. Then give me a projected snap share for both players since you're not buying it.
I'll say this. I'll give you this prediction. I predict that Keon Coleman outproduces Mac Hollins. Period.
Ooh.
I bet that.
Targets
for the
targets or yards?
Whole season. Keon Coleman versus Mac Hollins. Give me Keon Coleman. I don't give a shit with the depth chart. I don't care. Why do I don't. I bet you Keon Coleman outproduces Mac Hollins. You want to make that bet?
I do not want to make that bet. I think you'll probably end up on the right side of that one. Okay, let's hit another one then. Zach Moss ahead of your boy Chase Brown on the depth chart right now, and Chase Brown listed as the kick returner. How does that make you feel? Chase Brown was apparently outplaying Zach Moss. Oh, but when the veteran shows up and he's ready to play, boom, he's in there. So, Zach Moss, Chase Brown, how do you feel?
This one was interesting because wasn't Chase Brown the guy who was wasn't it just Chase Brown who was the starter?
That's what they said, right? That's what they said. Then the veteran shows up week 1, and all of a sudden, he's ready to play.
Here's what I equate it to, man. You see this every year, every sport across America. Like the veteran deference to start the game, right? You're out there. Mac Hollins will be out there to block for Josh Allen, to block for James Cook and Ray Davis, and to catch a sporadic pass every now and then. But these depth charts, man, there are so many different personnel packages and situational rotational groupings that I don't, for these ancillary weapons, these wide receiver threes, you know what they do, Jay? They run 11 personnel and 12 personnel where they're multiple, like they're just going to cycle them in and out. Like I see people, wheels up, Luke McCaffrey, listed as the third receiver on the team. Well, who's listed or whatever the case may be, right? Like those guys they're going to rotate in with other people all season long. So I'm not overreacting to where they're slotted on the initial depth chart, because you roll out there week one and what happens? Cincinnati rolls out there and they're in a two-back set, and Chase Brown and Zach Moss are on the field. And for most people, you're flipping around on red zone, so you missed the first goddamn play anyway. You don't know who started or who went. You have no clue. You turn it on and Chase Brown's out there 60% of the time. Do I care? Not really, Jay. Not really, but people do. People do. So how do you use the information? How do you navigate it? How do you react? How do you use the fear, the paranoia, the hopium, the excitement, the disappointment to go out and buy Chase Brown, to go out and get Blake Corum, who's listed as the kick returner, and no punt? Is Kyron Williams listed as the punt returner? I don't think he is.
He
I
is.
Don't know if,
It's crazy. He is listed as the punt returner.
So he's the punt returner.
Blake Corum is the kick returner. Imagine Blake Corum on kick return.
No. I took first and foremost, if y'all are out there, I'm telling you, go to ddfantasyfootball.com, join the community. I talked about this months ago, Jay, with this new kickoff rule. Remember, we were on this show and we were talking about this new kickoff rule and the creative sets that offenses can deploy. Like it lends for you to be able to run a play, like a real kick return type play. And I said, watch NFL teams put the backup running back or the third receiver or a skill position player back there to go execute that. I'm not shocked at all. I think you're going to see more secondary running backs, third, fourth string wide receivers that are good at that be deployed on those special teams units. Is advantageous. Either you're going to kick it to them and risk a return, or you're going to boot it out of the end zone and we get the ball at the 30, hell, maybe even the 35, 40-yard line. So I think you're going to see more of these running backs and receivers playing on special teams units. I think this is what's going to happen, probably what the NFL wanted as well, man.
Yeah, I mean, for the Rams, you got Blake Corum, Jordan Whittington. Whittington was a great returner at Texas for years. Corum, I don't know, did Corum return kicks at all at Michigan? I guess
he did, early in his career.
It's more about running the plays and the sets and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and how they navigate that, which is very interesting. Okay, Ray.
I mean,
how do any other ones want to talk about?
How do people feel about that? You know, no.
Do you care?
We're not going to poo-poo it, because when it was Kyron Williams on punt return, he was dead. He's done for. This signifies Blake Corum's takeover of that backfield. But now that it's other players, it's Chase Brown, I don't. Nah, hell no. Does it matter? I'm asking, does it matter?
I don't think it really matters, especially for fantasy football. Like, what the rotations will be what they are. Chase Brown, Zach Moss, they were already co-starters. But when Kyron's a first-round pick, you don't see the first-round picks. You don't see Bijan Robinson being used on punt return, right? Like, as cool and fun as that might sound, like you don't hear that. And that's why people are obviously overreacting to it a little bit, because you don't want to see your top first or second-round draft pick being on the returns, because they got to be playing on the field to score fantasy points.
And watch out for my boy says punt return is much different from kick return. It is. And there's more banging around on the kick return unit than there is on the punt return unit. Much more. The kick return rules makes much more sense for using a good player, not so much as punt return. What does that even mean? What are you talking about?
I think the point is the new rules lend itself to not just having a guy back there who can maybe make a play on kick return, maybe can't. I think to your point, you may be running more sets. Like, there's going to be more creativity kick returns this year. Punt return is going to be the same as it's been for, the beginning of time, basically, till whenever it was most recently innovated. Now you have this new wave, new players, new plays. To your point, you maybe see more running backs instead of receivers, basically almost exclusively, because they were fast, they can catch the ball, and they can maybe make a play. You might see a running back because the speed aspect will be less relevant.
I just said that. I literally just said that. That is what I just talked about for 3 minutes, and what we've talked about on this channel, that they are going to use good players on kick return unit. I don't know what punt return has to do with anything. Like it is. There's no. It's a completely different thing. But
I think he was just complimenting your point by saying something similar. That's all.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. I think we're saying the same thing. I just was confused as to why. Yeah, we all know punt return and kick return are totally different. But I don't think there's any more injury risk on a punt return unit. There's far more on a kick return unit because you got more going on and you're guaranteed to get hit, opposed to a punt return where you can call a fair catch, or you're normally dealing with, you're not dealing with that type of impact and collision that you are on a kick return unit. But neither here nor there. I don't know. A lot
of special teams talk today.
A lot of special. We need Thursday to get here. We need Ravens. We need Chiefs. Ravens, Chiefs popping off this week, Jay. I'm excited. I'm excited for tomorrow. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson, the Kang, Derrick Henry in the backfield, along with Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice. We get X-Worthy, Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, Kyle Hamilton. Let's freaking go. I'm pumped. I'm excited. We're starting all these guys, Jay, but I wanted to take some time today and just ask some questions about how we feel about some of these projected lines for these players, Jay. And is there anybody playing on Thursday based on these numbers, based on some other numbers, based on other matchups around the league in week one that you would consider over any of the options here in this game? And we're going to go to Underdog Fantasy and just start with the quarterbacks and just talk through, some of these sportsbooks projections for our favorite players and what they're going to do. So right here, we got Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson pulled up on the screen, Jay. Patrick Mahomes, 1.5 passing touchdowns, 266.5 yards for Patrick Mahomes. And let's just stay high-level stuff, the yards and the touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 1.5 passing touchdowns, juiced much higher because it's the books are saying it's more likely than not that he's under 2 touchdowns. You got 218 passing yards for Lamar Jackson. And where's his rushing yards at? 50 rushing yards, 49.5 rushing yards. And let's open up Mahomes because I think Mahomes always has interesting rushing yard lines. 20 yards for Patrick Mahomes. So when you're looking at Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, do any of these numbers strike you as hell yes, this is wheels up on Thursday night? Or are you a little concerned that Lamar's passing yard line is only 218? We know Mark Andrews working his way back from the car accident. A lot of ambiguity out there on the injury or why he was not able to practice. What are your thoughts, Jay, with what we're seeing from these players tomorrow night, fantasy perspective, and then just what the lines are right now?
So in regards to Patrick Mahomes' rushing yards, I did want to bring this up because when he's played the Ravens, it looks like, I think it's his regular season numbers, he's only hit that number once against the Ravens. They do play him pretty well, especially on the rushing side. The player I'm most intrigued by far, is Lamar Jackson. There's been a lot of talk about the passing attack. I think in year 2, it could be much better than in year 1. A lot of times when they switch OCs, you see quarterbacks not necessarily struggle, but the continuity and the ability to click with the receivers and actually execute is a lot more different from year 1 to year 2. It's usually much better that entire offseason. They're bringing back basically the entire roster. OBJ, we don't really care about him that much. He's not a big staple in the team. But the other reason, Ray, and people may mention this, people may not, Jerry Sneed is not on the team anymore. So how are they going to fill that void? And while, Zay Flowers isn't the most dominant wide receiver in the NFL, he's certainly capable of beating whoever they have on the outside in Kansas City. So while I look at this Chiefs defense, the strength is still up front in the front 7, especially with the front 3 or 4. I forget if they run a 4-3 or a 3-4 with Chris Jones in the middle. But in the secondary is where you're going to want to attack them early. And I really like the Lamar Jackson over passing yards because while he has struggled at times against the Chiefs, in week 1, the hole will be felt probably the absolute most by the Chiefs not have Sneed to really lock down and play great defense on the outside. So I would be targeting Lamar Jackson passing props, whether you want to go for the touchdowns. I don't know about that, but I really like the yards at 218.
You like the 218? I'll tell you what I like. I like Mahomes rushing yards. I think Stanley put it in the chat. 20.5 from Mahomes. He's one of the more underrated scrambling quarterbacks that you don't really think about running, but he just does it every single game, Jay. I really like 20.5 from Mahomes. 218 from Lamar. Well, let's talk about it because there was a comment from Colin in the chat. Let me pull this up real quick, Jay. Colin, shout out to Colin. He's here damn near every single day we do this show. Why do people hate Mark Andrews? I can't sell him for anything decent. That's a good segue into where Mark Andrews is projected, and then we'll talk through some Derrick Henry. I saw some people talking about Derrick Henry, But Mark Andrews on the week, and it was Andrews and Likely. Andrews receiving yard projection, 47.5 yards for Andrews, 4.5 receptions. Isaiah Likely, 16.5 yards, 1.5 receptions. So you like Lamar's 218, Jay, but people are thinking about starting Likely. You're going to start Mark Andrews. You're going to start. There are no other options. You're not, unless you have Kelsey or Trey McBride or Kincaid, and you're like, I just don't want to deal with the Chiefs defense. But my thing is, you drafted Mark Andrews in round 3, 4, or 5 for a reason. Like, you're going to start out week 1 and not play him. I just don't know how many people are going to do that. But expectation, 47.5 yards for Andrews, working his way back from whatever ailments may have plagued him from that car accident.
Yeah, I mean, Andrews is very interesting. You talk about the value for fantasy football purposes. It's because he gets hurt a lot. He gets banged up. He misses games in season. He's missed a couple playoff games at times for fantasy managers. I feel like they've just been burned by him a couple times, and that's where the value can be difficult to gauge. And he's not the new hotness. He's not Dalton Kincaid. He's not Sam Laporta, right? These players coming off fantastic rookie seasons. He's not even Trey McBride, who looks to smash this season as well. But I think he's going to be locked and loaded for probably 50 or 60 yards in this game. They're going to want to use him to attack the middle of the Chiefs defense. The question just remains, as you said, is how much he's going to be utilized, and more importantly, is he going to be used in the red zone? Because as much as we can talk about the yardage totals and whether or not he's going to play, how many snaps, they need him in the red zone to win the game. And that's where Mark Andrews is most effective. There isn't a player on that entire defense that can stop Mark Andrews in the red zone. So that's where, you pair fantasy and you pair reality. I don't really care if he's on the field when they're on their own 20-yard line. I want him on the field when they're in the red zone, and it matters. So his prop line is tough because of where he's at. He is practicing. He should be full go. And again, he's a veteran of the team. He's been playing on this team for years. He should be able to step in and play fairly effectively. They need him in the red zone. That's where it's going to matter. I think you probably go touchdown or bust in terms of props for Andrews, though.
I agree with Slayer Stacker right here. I don't think he misses as much time as people think. Yes, he got hurt. Ankle injury was devastating. But prior to that, I don't have anything pulled up, but I don't think Mark Andrews was just missing time like that. But when I'm looking at this and how I sort of make these, I don't want to say start sit decisions. I want to address this. So Joe Schmo, what's up, said Likely Andrews a good tandem. Totally agree, Jay. I think they are an incredible 1-2 combination at tight end. And there is a world in which Todd Monken utilizes Isaiah Likely a lot more in 2 tight end sets for Baltimore because they don't have a big-bodied receiver. Bateman is banged up. You can see that. But week 1, where I've got to put Isaiah Likely in my lineup, and the sports books, this is hundreds of millions and millions of dollars saying we don't feel good about Isaiah Likely going out there and this is just one piece of the puzzle. But I'm probably not starting Isaiah Likely in fantasy week 1. Maybe he smashes these lines and he gets you 2 catches, 35, 40 yards, and you win all the money in the world, right? Promo code ALLGAS. If you're new here, you like these lines, use that code and get up to $1,000 damn free dollars from Underdog and some free picks. So just free money all over the place. But I can't play Isaiah Likely, Jay. I can't do it. You're running with Mark Andrews. But let's stay with the tight end position. Travis Kelce, 5.5 receptions. 56.5 yards versus Baltimore. You got Kyle Hamilton, all-pro safety. Hey.
He feels poised to play pretty well.
Travis Kelce said, and this is a quote from Kelce, he said that he wasn't trying to entertain or hear none of that shit about dialing back his workload. Wouldn't be in Kansas City if they were talking about dialing back his workload. So Kelce saying he's coming out there and he's doing the damn thing. Jay, do you like anything for Travis? You're starting him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, we'll talk about Rice. We'll talk about Xavier Worthy, Rashad Bateman. But Travis Kelce, 5.5 receptions, 56.5 yards tomorrow night versus the Ravens. I mean, is he tight end 1 on the week, Jay, or is he a little lower on the list? And we'll go through our top 12 on Friday.
Yeah, what makes it tough with Kelce is you look at the playoff game, 11 for 11, 116, and a touchdown. Clearly dominated, right? That's when it matters, though. That's when they go to Kelce, when everything's on the line. But, Ray, do you believe they're going to do the same thing in the regular season when it doesn't matter as much? It still matters. Don't get me wrong, but they lost the opener last year. And I don't recall if Kelce in that opener last year, 9 Or no, he didn't play in the opener last year because he was hurt. So that's why he didn't play in the opener. But I think he's going to be involved. 5.5 is a fine line. You know, he can get 6 receptions. I would probably personally lean on the receptions more than the yards. He can get the yards, but I do like Hamilton a lot. Hamilton should be a very, very good option to defend him. He did struggle a bit last year, but the added experience, knowing it's coming week 1, having a game plan for Kelce, you got to start with Kelce. There's not going to be any Hollywood. Rice will play. I think that's where you still lean. You still lean on stopping the run, which the Ravens will do whether they stack the box or not. And you have to stop Kelce with Hamilton, probably plus a little bit of help. And with how badly he burned them in the playoffs, I think that's their number one priority. So I would probably lean receptions over yards with Kelce.
What about
he has played pretty well against them, though.
What about that first quarter? 9.5 first quarter receiving yard lines. I mean, I like that. I like it, Jay. That's one Kelce grab. He doesn't catch the ball in the first quarter?
He probably does, but what if the Ravens get the ball in the first quarter? And they run the clock all the way down to like the 2-minute mark because King Henry's just plotting this way, right?
14 minutes, yeah. Right. All right. If it were me, I think the 9.5 first quarter yards. I kind of like that, man. I kind of like that. But let's stick with the receivers because these are the last two from Kansas City that we're going to talk about. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. Jay, Rice is 5.5 receptions too. Same amount of yards, 58.5 yards, 2 more yards than Travis Kelce. And then Xavier Worthy, 3.5 receptions, 46.5 yards. We saw how Kansas City wanted to get Worthy involved in the preseason. I mean, are all these receivers, Worthy 4 catches, Rice and Kelce 6 apiece? We haven't even gotten to the running game with Henry and Pacheco, but Rice and Worthy this game from Kansas City. Any interest? First of all, starting Xavier Worthy in fantasy based on some of this and whatever you think, or would you take a play like this? You know, let me ask you this. You're starting Rashee Rice, right? No ifs, ands, or buts. We are all consensus universally starting Rashee Rice, no doubt about it. Period.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Moving on. Let me just ask you, are we starting Zay Flowers unequivocally, universally, locked and loaded starting wide receiver? Yes.
Probably a flex, yeah.
Not probably.
I don't want to, but probably a flex.
You are starting him. Xavier Worthy, 3.5 receptions, 46.5 yards. How you feel about starting this rookie, talented rookie that you saw Mahomes and Reed getting touches to in the preseason? You starting him week 1?
I don't think I would, no. I don't think I would. I think the Ravens defense is too good. As much as I like Xavier Worthy, I think he's a guy you play for the yards or you play for the longest reception because to expect him to get 4 catches in his first game seems like a bit of a pipe dream. It could happen, absolutely, but I'm not projecting it, right? I'm probably projecting him for maybe 4 or 5 targets, depending on how this game plays out. Yeah, I'd be looking to Rice more for the receptions. You know, you look at how he was played in that Ravens game. He only had 46 yards in that game, and he had 8 receptions on 9 targets. So a lot of short stuff, a lot of quick passes to Rice. We'll see how they play, right? I think Worthy can be effective, but do you really expect him to come out here and catch a bunch of deep passes? I think they will take their shots, but if they don't convert week 1, I'm not going to be shocked either. These things take time and chemistry needs to develop. I think they're going to take those opportunities, but would I bank on it and my money on it? I would probably not do that week 1, no.
Where's Zay Flowers? I just want to see where Zay's at. Zay, 4.5 catches.
You're such a Zay fan, man. He's just such an average receiver, man. He's not going to do anything crazy. Like, what do you really expect from Zay Flowers this year? You'd be pumped if he got 1,000 yards. Like, you would be fired up if Zay Flowers got 1,000 yards this year.
I mean, he's pretty good. Like, why do you not like him?
Because he doesn't win downfield as much as you'd like for a receiver.
He was a rookie, man. He was a rookie. He had an incredible rookie
now
season.
He's a rookie, right?
He had an incredible So he doesn't win. What do you want him to do? Running 9 routes? He's 5'7", man. He's not going to do. That's not his game. Like, he can get downfield, but he's not going to go moss receivers in the red zone. That's not his game.
All right, so 4.5 receptions, 52.5 receiving yards. What do you like about your boy, Zay Flowers?
Well, do you like these lines? Would you take an over 4.5 receptions, 52.5 yards for Zay Flowers? You just talked about how shitty the Ravens passing it. You love Lamar, so how is he getting 218 yards?
I would consider the yards. I don't think the receptions is where I would go with him, though. I think they have too many guys that can catch passes. I think Henry will be heavily involved. I think with Flowers, you're hoping he breaks a big play in the open field.
That's what guys do they have? Too many guys. Who?
Well, they're gonna. You make it seem like these guys are irrelevant. Like Nelson Aguilar is gonna get targets. Bateman's gonna get targets. You're talking about your love for Isaiah Likely every show. Mark Andrews going to get involved, and they still have King Henry, who's going to probably get 20 carries in this game minimum. Like there is that aspect of okay, he had some yards, he had some opportunity, but they didn't have a running game. So let's talk about the running backs, running game.
So let's talk about the running backs. 20 carries minimum. Line is 15.5. This ought to be the first play we run is higher than 15.5 attempts for Derrick Henry.
I think he's going to get 15 plus attempts easily.
Easily. Okay.
He's King Henry, man. They're going to run the ball. And so the other reason why, honestly, Ray, is I think this is going to be a very competitive game. I don't think the Chiefs run away with this one. And that's where you do have to think about how do you see this game playing out and how do you want to bet it? It's going to be a close game. And I think Henry will be heavily involved in this game.
Josh, shout out to Josh McAtee, man, my boy, man. We're finishing up our FFPC main event team together. He said, is it receptions on Andrews or Zay? What about the 4.5 receptions for Zay? Don't like it?
I don't personally like it, no. You look at how he was deployed against them in the playoffs.
So that means you think he's like a 3 to 4 catch guy, Jay.
Yeah, but isn't that what he is? You look at the games he played, I mean, down the stretch when he's apparently supposed to be amazing, 5, 6, 4, 5, 1, 5, 3, 5, 6, 1, 9, 3. Like, what's that at an average of? About 5. So he's not like he gets the targets, but he doesn't always convert to that high level 6, 7 reception floor. I think he's much more likely to break a big play against the secondary with, a slant, use his agility. He's just not going to go like deep down the field and catch this big bomb, but he can do it in the open field. That's why I think Zay can still be usable, but I don't think he's got this crazy high ceiling either. He'll be a big play option for them. Just it won't be like stretching the field down the field.
Isaiah Pacheco.
But King Henry.
Isaiah Pacheco. Let's talk about, well, they don't even have yards up for Henry. They got 73.5 rushing receiving.
Because they're scared, bro. They're scared.
There are no Henry rushing yards.
But they got the anytime touchdown.
They got an anytime TD.
Right?
Would you feel better about the attempts or the touchdowns? The attempts or the touchdowns?
Always the touchdown for Henry.
Always the attempts.
You try. Really? You're taking the attempts? I'm taking the touchdown.
You told me 20 minimum.
I would take both. As someone who's taken plenty of Derrick Henry props, I would take both.
You, sir, are straddling this thing like a hooker on a horse. I'm telling you, man.
Look, just because you can't bet both doesn't mean the people can't bet both. If you can bet both, you should bet both.
Okay.
But
Isaiah
I would
Pacheco.
probably believe in the touchdown.
What do you think about Pacheco? Pacheco, 14.5 rushing attempts for Isaiah Pacheco. Samaje Perine will be active. Let me ask you that question first. There's nothing up for Perine besides a touchdown. Are you firing up Perine week 1? CEH is on the non-football injury list or whatever he's on, or he's not playing. Whatever he's on, he ain't playing. So you got Hayden Winks and Samaje Perine at running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you starting Samaje Perine in week 1, or is this blow up, smash, Isaiah Pacheco will be able to flip him for first after this game?
I want to say that it should be Isaiah Pacheco season, but it really wouldn't shock me if they're like, hey, Samaje, can you just go out there and pass protect for a couple plays? Like, give Pacheco a break, right, on some of these receiving downs. I do like the attempts, though. I think it will be a grinded out game for both teams, especially for week 1. But, I wouldn't start Perine, but I wouldn't be shocked either if he had like 4 receptions in this game.
All right, I'm getting this Kelsey first quarter yards out of there. Getting that crap out of there. We need to. Okay, so I like Pacheco's attempts too, and I've talked about Pacheco, Jay. I think he is sneaky top 5 running back upside. I know they got Perine in there. I do not believe that Perine will be the only running back to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes. So I am in on this 14.5 attempt line from Pacheco. Somebody in the chat, I think it was, I don't know who it was, but they asked about Mahomes.
Are we betting Carson Steele, TD, week 1?
No. Completions 25.5 for Mahomes. So it's a little much for me.
I don't know if that's a lot, yeah. Sounds
It
like a lot,
feels
though.
like a lot, but I don't want to do that. Is there anybody else from this game? We're not touching Worthy. Can I interest
What
you in
about
Rashad Bateman? Can I interest you in 2.5 catches for? You hate Zay Flowers. He's god awful. But do you want to bet on Rashad Bateman to get 3 catches? Zay Flowers can only get 2 to 3, so Bateman's got to catch more, right?
I do kind of like the bet on Bateman. It's only 2.5 receptions, and he's probably the X receiver for the team. You look at what he does every single week, and it's like right around that range, 3 to 4 targets. He'll have to be efficient, but when Lamar comes out and he says that Rashad Bateman's going to have a big year, I'll believe that over a coach, over another running back, over another player. When the quarterback is out here saying he's going to have a big year when he's healthy, and it's week 1. I'm not asking you to take him for the entire season. I'm not asking you to put him on your fantasy team. But if he has 3 receptions, don't be surprised. Like, they're going to have to throw the ball to win this game a little bit, and Bateman will be a part of that, whether you like it or not.
Noah Gray, somebody in the chat. I mean, you got all this support. You've got all the support. So if I lose this slip, it's your ass. That's it. That's it.
Okay, so here's the question, Ray. What are you contributing to the slips? Because I'm making all the picks. All you took was the Isaiah Pacheco one.
I did Pacheco.
Like, Pacheco. What else you got on that? What else you got on that slip? Because you're going to blame me when we lose.
Mahomes.
What'd you take from Mahomes?
His rushing yards, 20 and a half.
The rushing yards. All right. So what? I got 4 of the 6 or 4 of the 5?
We can only have 5.
Okay, so we're doing 5, and so you're making me take 3 of them, and you only got 2. Okay.
Well, somebody's gonna. You know, that's how 5 works. If you divide it by 2, it's not. You get what I'm saying? It's somebody's gonna have 3. Somebody's gonna have 2. God damn it!
It's just interesting how I'm the 3, and you're gonna blame me when we lose. But I gotta make 3 picks. You only gotta make 2.
All right. So here's what we're thinking about the Thursday night game. We love us some Isaiah Pacheco over 14.5 rushing attempts. If you got Pacheco, you're firing them up. Derrick Henry, JRich guaranteed at least 20 rush attempts, so this should be free money. Rashee Rice, it is priced like he's going to go over 5.5 receptions. We got Patrick Mahomes, 20.5 yards. You're firing him up. And JRich thinks Lamar, even though he has no receivers, Zay Flowers is a bum. Mark Andrews barely can get on the field because he's always injured. He's going to somehow go over 218 yards. So there we go. First sort of Thursday night slip breakdown of the season. And JRich, I can't wait.
Our week one sweat, baby. Let's go.
We're going to confirm this on the thing. Boom. This is confirmed. Jay, if we win, we'll
How much do I get if we win? Do I get that 60%?
No, 50-50. 50-50.
That's what I thought.
60% my ass. 50-50. So we got Lamar, Mahomes, Rice, Henry, and Pacheco. And we got 1 or 2 minutes left, Jay. I just really quickly want to it's fun looking at this because we think, oh, this player, that player. Got a bunch of defensive stuff in here. Let's just look at any defensive things that people might like. We got where's your boy Kyle Hamilton at? Where's old Hamilton at?
What's his tackles at? Like
Roquan.
7.5?
That's what we should have been on, Jay. Goddamn Roquan Smith. 9.5 tackles and assisted tackles for Roquan?
That sounds like a lot, though, for tackles.
Dude, I mean, but if you're talking about the short, intermediate game, you're talking about Pacheco underneath. I mean, Roquan's everywhere. Kyle Hamilton, 6.5 for Hamilton. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Look at Jalen Hurts. We got Brazil game on Friday, so we'll talk about Hurts and Jordan Love, Saquon Barkley.
Who wins that game, Ray? Because I think I might be rolling with the pack for this one.
Well, we'll talk. We got a show on Friday.
We'll talk
on Friday.
The line is 3 right now, but don't be shocked if it's
Darius Slay
2
said
or
they
2.5.
don't even want to be out there. They say we don't even want to be in Brazil. Why the hell does the NFL have us in Brazil? We'll talk about that and other Sunday NFL games, maybe some Saturday college football games you need to watch and players to pay attention to. We will do that on Friday. Good stuff, Jay. Good stuff. Anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
Richie's saying when Steel TD hits, he's going to use the winnings to grab some DD hats.
When the Steel,
I'm going to bet that Steel TD
Richie,
for sure. I'm going to find the best line.
Steel TD. Don't you do it, Rich. Don't you do it, Richie.
Richie, I got you. I'll spend my own money to get Carson Steel TD in there. We doing it.
We're talking about Roquan Smith. Because
it would be hilarious.
Kyle Hamilton.
10 to 1 at FanDuel.
Who's that? Carson Steele? We ain't doing it, man. Hit the music, man, so we can get out of here. Hit the damn music, man. Appreciate everybody being in. Friday, we're gonna talk start sits, preview some games, look at some props, talk some college football players to watch. Make sure you check out Dynasty Theory, who dropped on the channel last night. I've got a first round 2025 rookie mock draft dropping tomorrow. When's it gonna come out, Jay? In the morning, afternoon time, sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, morning probably. 8 a.m.
Probably. I don't know if it's 8 a.m. 2025 rookie mock on the channel. I'm dropping that. We'll be doing that every single week. Podcast feed. Make sure you sub to DD Fantasy Football Radio. Dope shows, dope content. Jay, anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
Nah, Carson Steele, baby. It's a lock. Ray said it's not happening. I'm going on the other side. So let's ride, baby. Thursday Night Football. The opener is here. Ray, who you got winning? Ravens or Chiefs?
I'm going to give it to Kansas City,
really
man. Kansas City. Kansas City.
All right.
You got the Ravens?
I'm still thinking about it.
Man, get the hell out of here. We'll see y'all on Friday. You want me, and you don't know who you're picking. We'll see y'all on Friday. Wake up, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We gone, man. Come on, dude.